That was a nice little... This one, you're supposed to pour... It's like... What's the exact direction? You're supposed to pour aggressively... Pour hard, right? So you're basically supposed to do this. I wonder what it's going to sound like.
Jesus Christ. Is that really how you're supposed to pour that?
Yeah.
Guys, that was really aggressive.
It was, but also sexy.
Holy fuck.
Well,
wow.
I do what I can.
There you go. And then look, it does the nitro thing. See, she's right. It's like pouring a Guinness.
That was great.
And which one's this one? Is this left hand?
Left hand milk stout. Nitro.
Nitro.
That really was an aggressive pour.
My friend
I'm very
Dominic
impressed by
brought
that.
a 6-pack of these over for one of the 97 movies that I have to watch this month. What we were watching on Friday, and he left 3 of them in the fridge, so I brought one.
That is a good friend.
To go with our Lager of the Lakes.
Cheers. That's what I'm drinking.
Lager of the Lakes.
I just want to be upfront about something in the spirit of time travel and also transparency. So we're recording this on, what fucking day is it?
November the 18th.
November the 18th. After watching the 3rd episode, The False Bride.
See?
However, after we watched that, we watched next week's episode because we're going to be recording these 2 episodes back to back. So longtime listeners will know that means we're going to be absurd in the next one. Hopefully not too absurd, though. Anyway, and there's some shit that happens in the next episode that is so bonkers that it's like really hard to be talking about the first episode right now. Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong, but I'm going to be real good.
We're going to try really hard. So you can consider this a teaser. There's some fucking bonkers shit that happens in the next episode. I kept covering my face with my sweater, and I think that Janine and Julie both thought that, like, that meant something terrible was going to happen.
Well, something terrible did happen.
Instead, it was just like something nuts. Just like nuts.
I think we could definitely describe it as terrible.
Okay, but we got to stop now. We got to stop. We got to focus on the false bride.
We do have to focus on the false bride.
False bride.
And I think the best way to start that conversation, in lieu of a bit, is just to acknowledge that Julie, eagle-eyed Outlander fan, and also stander of no bullshit and popper of balloon egos. I don't know. I'm having a hard time coming up with honorifics.
That's okay.
First of her name. We're watching them fucking in North Carolina getting ready to do the reel or whatever the fuck, the Watusi or like whatever they're going to do. And they go to get their portrait drawn because Brianna is apparently that kind of traveler. She wants to do all the things. And the camera is panning over all these portraits. And Julie goes, "That's mustache," with undiluted fury in her voice. Just like it was like her personal space had been infringed upon.
It had been.
And sure
that's my
enough,
living room.
We back it up and we pause it. And that's a fucking portrait of Matthew B. Roberts.
Just as background dressing, but it's there.
And they sent me the picture just prior, and because I wasn't there to watch it at that time, and I'm looking at it, and my face was.
It made him roll his eyes a little.
Very disgusting.
Here's what I wanted, and we said, and we did this said this in the live stream too, which you guys were fun. Thanks for being so chatty in that today. We were talking about it, and like, yes, we would absolutely do the same thing. Only it would be like we'd be flipping the bird or making a dumb face, or maybe it would be like we'd slip in portraits of Kevin and Neil and Tom and I don't know, you guys, right? Like Beth and Jen and Kate and all, nice people. It sure, and if it was us, if it was a picture of us, it sure as fuck would not be a glamour shot.
No, and that was definite glamour shot, like Casablanca style.
Yep, Vaseline on the lens.
Yeah, Vaseline on the charcoal.
On the charcoal.
Draws extra smooth.
You know, and this is definitely the result of us just not being the biggest fans in the world.
Yup. So
maybe we shouldn't be so judgy. But if you really think we're not going to be that judgy, you're listening to the wrong podcast. Welcome to Podlander Drunkcast and Outlander Podcast. I'm Allison.
I'm Julie.
That's Janine.
Hey.
And we are talking about, as you might guess, The False Bride.
Wait. Don't forget your official things that you have to say about Outlander's series from Stars.
We are discussing the 3rd episode of the Stars series, Outlander, adapted from the books by Diana Gabaldon. Yeah.
Is this
The False Bride?
Is that an official thing? That
She started doing it this season, and I think it's a thing now.
It's a thing now. I like it.
I guess so. I
think
didn't
it's
always do it.
No.
It gives us kind of legitimacy and a professional sheen that I appreciate.
Yeah, but it's not. Here's the thing. It's not like It's like when people are like, "Thanks for coming out tonight," or whatever. When they're listening to, "We'll be right back," where it's a podcast. It's like it's not the radio and it's not a concert.
Right.
I don't know why I said all of that. I'm extremely tired. I don't know what's happening. Anyway, The False Bride from the Star series Outlander.
All right.
Cool. Let's do it.
So, for opening thoughts before we get into our summary, anything? Janine saw maybe the last 7-8 minutes of this.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Julie, what'd you think?
I thought it was pretty good. I thought it was better than the last episode. There were major surprises that, of course, we'll get to in the rundown when we talk about it. But overall, I thought it was a pretty good episode. Yeah.
Yeah. That's about where I sit. I think it's good.
My thoughts.
Yeah, hit us.
Having seen
7 minutes.
7 minutes of it, Roger's gonna be a dick.
Yeah,
And
we'll get into that.
I only caught 7 minutes of that. But
That's some
was
in the
kinda-
books talk. So we'll have to move a little bit quicker through the episode so that we can have some hearty in the books talk because that is both a combination of a bunch of different plot lines and a scene that's almost straight from the books. Only just really kind of botched. So we'll talk about it.
All right. So let's do this. The title card this time is Credits, Dear, Wicker Style. So we know that there's going to be some Wicker Man type situation, burning of the stag situation that obviously we find that out very soon. And then we flash back to Inverness, 1970, and it's Fiona Graham.
I love Fiona.
And her new husband or fiance, got to be husband back in those days,
Husband,
right?
yeah.
They are moving into Reverend Wakefield's old house, and Roger is a little bit sad about it. Mm-hmm. But he's also
doing a little noodling on the old guitar.
Noodling on the guitar.
Janine, can you pull up the IMDb and find us who plays Fiona? Because I think she does a nice job in these episodes.
And we find a little background information out. She asked him when he saw Bree last. He talks about some shit. And then we find out that Brianna is no longer at Harvard. No. Now she's at MIT.
What?
And when I heard that, my eyes rolled so hard I bowled a fucking strike. I was like, oh, really? From Harvard to MIT. Okay. But anyway, so now we know she's not studying history anymore. She's changed to engineering, which she had more of a passion for anyway, so that's cool. Then we switch back to the past, and we are at River Run. And it's just Claire on the front porch, still sadly looking at slavery for a minute.
Yeah, well, yeah. It's, yeah.
It
Wouldn't
just-
you?
Yes, of course I
like,
would. But it's not about how she feels about it. I don't know. It's just a lot of her doing that.
The problem is always going to be that this is a story written about this period in time that is centered on white people.
Yeah.
So like we're going to get a lot of what white people think about all kinds of things because it's a story primarily about white people.
Yeah.
And I just think there's a fine line between like, oh God, everybody is so sad. And like, I would be too, and you're fucking powerless to do anything. And, like,
Right.
I would also be sad, but I also wish that the show wasn't quite so precious about it.
Exactly.
Fiona's name is Iona Claire.
Iona Claire, good job.
Good job, Iona.
You have a great scene. Never mind. I can't say that. So we're back at River Run, and in the parlor, we find out that Jamie and Claire are about to leave, and Jamie is saying his goodbye to Aunt Jocasta, and he tells us that he's going to send Ian back to Scotland, and that he and Claire are going to move west. She's going to be a healer, and he's going to be a printer in this big bad world, and they're going to go to Wallham's Creek. Is that the name of the town?
A Scottish settled town. And he'll be a printer and she'll be a healer, and they will just live their nice, normal lives without owning slaves. And you can tell that that Jocasta is not super happy about it. But mostly this is like a sad goodbye. And it's not like they're never going to see each other again. But,
right.
you know, they both miss their dead mom/sister.
Right. And then Aunt Jocasta gives Jamie a set of beautiful silver candlesticks that belong to his mom. And then she has a killer acting moment where she says, I can't grieve for what's gone, but I really wish I would have gotten to see your face one time.
That's
because she
very
went
good.
blind before she could ever see him.
Yeah. She and Sam both
sad.
do a very nice job.
That was a good scene.
Yeah, very good.
And then Wien is pissed that Jamie has made this decision for him and is all like, I'm a man now, and literally puts his little foot down. Foot down.
He's like, listen, you want to protect me from things, but here are the things that have happened to me the last year. I got kidnapped by pirates twice. I ended up on a big fucking ship. We sailed that ship, and then he doesn't mention and then a whole bunch of horrific. That there was a bath full of blood, and then there was some other, and then there's but he's just sort of skipped some of that stuff to the point where he's like, and then there was a hurricane.
Yeah, and we all cheer because we're like, yeah, because that was ridiculous.
And I don't know what your deal was, but while you were diving to the bottom of the crystal clear ocean looking for
in
your
the middle
wife,
of the hurricane,
I was getting hit in the face with a wet sail over and over again, right in the face. And what I'm saying to you is, I am no longer a child, and I will stay in America.
I make my decision.
Mm-hmm.
So
Jamie goes, yeah, okay.
He kind of gives him a grudging look, like, you're right, okay, all right, little dude.
America.
Okay, right.
Fuck yeah.
And then we flash back to the parlor.
Oh, wait, hold on. Mm-hmm. Then Jamie's like, I'll write to your mother. And Ian is like, no. A man writes his own letters. And you can see Jamie go, God, you're an idiot. I was volunteering to do the worst part for you, but you go ahead. You want to write to your mom?
Great.
Go for it. Enjoy.
Then we flash back to the parlor, and it's Aunt Jocasta. Claire goes in to say goodbye, and then Aunt Jocasta is just kind of a bitch. She's like, why are you trying to prevent Jamie from becoming the man that he should be? A printer? Pa. And it's weird. And Claire's like, fuck you. We're going to go live our lives. I appreciate your hospitality, but you don't know anything about me, and you really don't know anything about Jamie either, so piss off.
There's a little, and I think that I don't actually remember whether or not Claire and Jocasta have this conversation in the books.
In the book.
But I know that a huge portion of this story in the books, when they're trying to figure out whether or not they're going to take Tryon's offer, basically, is, which they do not decide to do, as is the case here, they do not decide to do until they find Fraser's Ridge.
Right.
Is that Claire is very worried about what's going to happen with the Revolutionary War, understandably. There's also a whole other subplot, which is not in the book. Well, I mean, we saw it in the season, where Claire is convinced that if Jamie goes back to Scotland, he's going to die. Mm-hmm. Because do you remember she saw his gravestone in the season 2 finale?
Wasn't that related to Culloden, wasn't it?
Well, there was a gravestone. I don't remember whether or not it was Culloden related. I think maybe there wasn't a date.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
I think it was just
I'm
his
having
name.
a hard time remembering what was in the book and what wasn't.
Sure.
Anyway, but I know they find his gravestone, right? Mm-hmm. So she believes that he dies in Scotland. So this is a thing the show is
she's
dealing
like,
with
do
it all.
not go back to Scotland.
Well, because she thinks if they settle, he's going to have to go back to Scotland to get settlers.
Oh.
So she doesn't want them to. So in addition to the war, she doesn't want them to take the land because she doesn't want him to have to go back to Scotland to get settlers. Because if he goes back to Scotland, he'll die. That's what she thinks.
There's a lot going on there.
I know,
That
it's
is
a lot.
Jeez.
Regardless, she knows that like being a laird is his thing, and that it's the thing he was born to do that he's never been able to do because his whole life has been fucking really shitty, just like really shitty. So Claire is conflicted about whether or not they should take this offer, knowing that on the one hand, it puts them on the wrong side of history. On the other hand, it means that Jamie could actually be what he was born to be. Right. So I think Jocasta does have some good points, but she's just like really shitty about them.
She's very shitty.
And also, Claire was never like, no, you have to be a printer. That never happened. So, so Jocasta is kind of a dick.
Yeah, it's kind of a dick
It's
scene.
a good scene, though. Tense little scene. MDK, killing it.
All right, then they're leaving outside, and we meet Clarence the Mule, who Allison assures me is going to become a big star.
Oh, yeah, Clarence is a big deal.
And then I saw Claire's belt, which I'm sure was still the same belt from season 3 that she wore on the boat, but I don't know. It just looks real good right now. And I was like, I love that belt.
Oh, and she has that little fanny pack thing on it?
It's really good.
God,
and
that's good. That's
I
good
need
beer.
a new belt. So that just makes me think of how I need a new belt.
She must really need a new belt, dear listener, because Julie has now mentioned to me that she needs a new belt several times today.
Yeah, because I saw that one and I was jealous. I was belt jealous.
No, there's a lot of good belts out there with pouches like that, leather pouches.
I don't want the pouch.
But that's really cool, though.
I just need a good belt.
I mean, you maybe kind of do want the pouch.
No,
Dude,
this
you
is
can
for
love it.
work. I'm
You're
not
gonna
going to be
love
walking
it.
around with my fucking Renaissance Festival pouch. I turn around my waist.
Listen, this is called fashion forward.
Or
I'm not saying
backward.
you wear the pouch to work. I'm saying you wear the pouch to camping. You wear the pouch to, I don't know.
Walking
Burning Man.
No, but like if you went to a show,
Yeah.
that way you could have your shit right here.
And it would help out with all these jeans that I'm getting that for some reason have no fucking pockets on them. Ugh, patriarchy.
I just watched a Try Guy episode about that thing. They fucking hate it. They were like, what the fuck is this? It's fucking ridiculous.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
Sorry, apparently the Try Guys is a thing I watch nowadays, so.
don't know
Oh,
if
the
that
no
is.
pockets. It's the dudes that try things.
Yeah.
Like, I think not always, but sometimes kind of about women things that they don't have to do.
It tends to be in that area.
Right.
Recently.
And so they bought women's clothes and realized that we don't have fucking pockets.
And then they were like,
yeah.
our lives, like, we rely on pockets.
Yeah, no shit.
Yeah.
So anyway, Patty.
Sorry.
Patriarchy.
Patriarchy. So then, speaking of patriarchy, here comes John Quincy Myers.
John Quincy Myers is the best.
He is
But
pretty cool.
I want to raise the point that once again, he did not say, "Excuse me, Mrs. Clare, I have a large hernia on my nether parts. Would you cut it out for me?" That never happens. I take umbrage.
Is that a thing that's supposed to happen?
It happened in the
Yes.
books.
Oh, right. You weren't here last
Yeah, you
week.
weren't here.
Sorry.
So they are not quite introduction. The second time that we see John Quincy Myers in the books, he stumbles in dead drunk into a party that Jocasta is having because Claire was like, "Oh, well, the problem you described." Okay. A brief play.
A brief play.
John Quincy Myers goes, I hear you're a healer. Allow me to tell you all about my physical ailments, because that's the thing that
That's how they
happens,
do.
right? And Claire listens very politely. And it's like, what you're describing, and what you call a third ball is actually a hernia. We will remove that at some point, but it needs careful planning because we're going to need a large table, and I'm going to need to sterilize my instruments, and also we'll have to put you under since we don't have anesthesia. We'll have to do that with alcohol. You'll have to be stinking drunk. And he goes, "Oh, okay. All I heard is stinking drunk," and off he goes. Cut. Next scene. Party. Claire's there. She's wearing a beautiful dress and she's got a pretty necklace and she's mingling with people. And Jocasta's being, like real crafty Mackenzie. And Jamie is stressed and Claire is just trying to make her way through this party. And all of a sudden, in this tense moment, doors burst open and in walks John Quincy Myers. And he goes, "I did what you said, Mistress Claire, and I am very drunk." And then he passes out on the giant dining table. And Claire looks at him and thinks to herself, "We could leave him there, or I could do my favorite party trick, surgery." So then they do surgery on his hernia. Yes, at the party.
They did not do that on the television show. Fans were upset.
Well, at least this one was.
Yeah.
I really wanted Claire to do surgery as a party trick.
I love that was an actual thing, too.
Oh, yeah.
So he
instead
shows
he
up.
just shows up.
But it's clear that Aunt Jocasta has kind of like boop, 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 hooked him into this. And he says, "You're going to be needing help getting through the woods. I know everything." So anyway, Patty. And then we flash back to 1970 and it's Roger in the airport. And there's all sorts of fucking 1970s fucking Pan Am costuming. And oh, God, it's real good.
Good shit.
There's like stewardesses and shit with their little pillbox hats. And everybody's all in kind of muted jewel tones. And it's just like, it's awesome.
Inject it directly into my veins.
And I'm just like, please, this is my time. The cars, the clothes, everything. Why? Ugh.
So Roger looks like he came straight from work at Oxford, and he's got
Yep.
on his mismatched
Tweedy.
tweeds and
He's
all
very
of that stuff.
tweedy.
And then the camera cuts, and then we see Brianna coming through, and Jesus Christ, she's wearing Julie would wear literally everything that she has on her body,
Yeah.
like every single thing. And they hug, and it's like a nice hug, but a
But
little
it's awkward
they don't
because
smooch.
he kind of goes in maybe a little bit for a kiss, and she's like, "What?" Like she avoids it, and then they hug, and it's fine.
What's the last thing that happened with them?
Roger refers to them seeing each other over the summer, which we don't see.
We don't see that.
So in between their Christmas together and the summer. Oh, and then I think they were together at Christmas again. I think he says that. So Christmas, summer, Christmas, and then this is the next thing. So other than that, they've occasionally been on the phone and writing.
And then there was a whole big thing on our Slack channel about the hashtag that Stars has chosen for them. Their portmanteau is... What is it?
I don't remember which one they went with.
I don't know if they picked
acceptable
one.
one on the list was MacBree, and we're not
like,
into it.
we're like, that's terrible. So we decided to just call them hashtag youngins.
Yeah, youngins.
Youngins.
If you really need a ship name for these people, then go ahead. Feel free to take youngins because that's much better.
That's so much better.
Youngins.
Hashtag youngins. That's YOUNGUNS for anybody who needs to know how to spell youngins.
I will say that I'm not sure how hard people will be shipping Bree and Roger after this episode.
Well, woof.
They will again in the future, but woof.
Not right now. So we find out
As
that they
Rollo
are
the dog would say.
woof.
There we go. Thanks,
So
guys.
we find out that they're headed to North Carolina. Now, I wasn't 100% clear on why they were actually going to North Carolina from Boston.
Narrative convenience.
I was going to say
It's
because
not North Carolina in the books.
because I know they're going to a Highland festival, but there's got to be one closer than North Carolina.
So the conceit here is, and they do take a road trip in the first book. I mean, sorry, in the book, but I'm so sorry. In the book.
Thank you.
It's not in North Carolina. Roger basically takes a gig warbling for an excuse to come to America. So they go to the festival. In the book, it is not in North Carolina. That is purely so that they can have Roger and Bree
Have a road trip.
to North Carolina, but also to where they are so they can have all those gorgeous cuts back and forth. That is the reason they end up in North
Because
Carolina.
I didn't
That's
really
why.
think about it now until I looked at my notes. But I was like,
Roger
that just
Bree-
seems really stupid.
The Roger Bree, and I mean, I suppose that we can assume that he got an offer
to perform at this.
Yeah.
Okay, fine.
Which they make clear in the books that it's sort of like his freelance gig is that he sings like Celtic songs and
like an angel.
I mean, he's got a good voice and like plays instruments and shit, and he'll do that wherever, and so they hire him. But here it's narrative convenience. Also, I should note that what happens with Roger and Bree is a combination of two different storylines that happen in the book.
Interesting.
So the whole conversation they have that we'll get to happens in Scotland at Christmas.
Okay.
And then this trip to the Highland Festival is separate and I think after.
Oh, weird.
I don't remember if it's before or after, but
Okay.
yeah. It's not a complete break, and that we'll get there.
Okay.
Continuing on.
So they're on the road trip, and the set designer deserves a big round of applause. Let's do it. Because not only are all the cars amazing,
Oh, they're sick.
all American 70s cars, but in the back seat we're treated to a
Dairy Queen.
beautiful like 1970s era Dairy Queen bag and cup.
It's
Like,
gorgeous.
where did they find that shit? Anyway, you're good at your job.
Yeah.
They're driving to North Carolina, and we do find out that Roger likes a chocolate malt, and I'm like, yes, for a malt. I love a malt. And then they do this vocab game called the Minister's Cat, where it's like an alphabetized thing, and you have to come up with the best word starting with whatever letter, and I'm like, move on. And
Well, it's supposed to be a way for them to flirt with each other.
and they do.
Doesn't work
And
out.
then she is so impressed with his vocab wang that she has to make out with him while he's driving. Thank God nobody was coming the other way because they would have been dead. So then it fades to the same road. But in the olden days, we're looking at the same mountain. And Jamie and Claire and Wien are on the wagon train to wherever they're going. So it's like they're in the same place at different times.
So they're making their way through the Blue Ridge Mountains with John Quincy Myers, and they're talking about Native Americans.
We find out that he speaks a little bit of Cherokee. That's important later.
Wien says, Myers has been with many a native lassie. And John Quincy
teenage
Myers,
boys.
ever the gentleman, except for when he flips out his third ball at social gatherings. Otherwise, either the gentleman, he goes, I don't recall attaching a name to it. Number to it. Sorry.
I didn't tell you how many soldiers.
Yeah. Let's not say many.
So we see some eagles. We see some beautiful autumn tree porn. And then they're at the campfire that night, and JQM is leaving them on their own tomorrow. He's got to go do something else, some trading, fur trapping shit or whatever he does. Oh, he's taking tobacco somewhere. And Wien is going to go with him. And at first, Jamie tries to protest. And then, wait a minute, Wien's a man now. He backs down. And Wien is very excited to go on his next adventure.
That's one of my very favorite things about what John Bell is doing is every time something comes up,
He's so fucking excited.
he's like, the woods, raccoons, woo! It's like all of it. He's very excited.
He's very enthusiastic.
It's great.
And then Jamie and Claire have a quiet fireside chat. And Jamie wants to know if Claire wants to go to Boston. And Claire's like, Boston? Hell no. I already lived in Boston. It's a shit heap. Let's start our own life somewhere else.
And you don't understand. Everybody won't shut the fuck up about the Red Sox. It's really just want some peace. And also, that's where the revolution's going to start. We shouldn't be there.
So it's dangerous there now. And I've already lived my life there. I'd like to try somewhere else with you. You redwood of a man. Whatever. And then Jamie and Claire the next day are on their beautiful horses going through the forest talking about Brianna. And Claire opens up a little bit to Jamie about how Brianna spent a lot more time with Frank when she was growing up than with Claire, obviously because Claire was in medical school, a busy doctor. And Jamie takes it very well. It doesn't like freak him out or anything, but I do feel like Claire was maybe a little bit scared to tell him that or like trepidatious about it.
It's a really nice little actor moment from Katrina.
And then there's a big thunderstorm on the way. And then Jamie says something about, let's get to the next town and go to the tavern. I'm like, bitch, there's no town. What it like?
I mean, they are headed for a town.
But the thunder just happened. There's no way you're making it to that town.
Okay, on the list of things Jamie is bad at, we can add travel planning.
Okay, maps.
Yeah, just travel planning in general.
Okay.
I think that actually works. Like, remember when they got hurricane stranded and didn't know where the fuck or remember, like, when they were like, when he thought, we're going to go to France, but we're going to make a pit stop at this island where my nephew's going to get kidnapped by pirates. That was some bad travel planning.
Right. You're right.
Like
he's not good at
travel
we get
planning.
to add something to the list of things he's not good
Finally, at long
God
last.
damn, it's been 2 years.
So after not looking hot while covered in blood, maps.
Maps.
No, he's good at maps.
He's okay at maps, but he's not so good at planning on the map.
He would be a terrible travel agent.
Yes, no, don't get that job. Plus, that job's going to die anyway.
I don't know. It just seemed like the thing
I
to
feel
do.
like the right moment.
So they stop for a minute because Jamie needs to reshoe a horse, and Claire has a moment with him where she says, do you like working with horses? Do you like it better than printing? Because Aunt Jocasta has planted some poison in her mind
head, just like
about
Mackenzie.
him not wanting to be a printer. And Jamie's like, whatever I have to do to be with you is what I want to do. So let's move forward. Come on, baby. And then the rain starts. And then Clarence, there's a big thunder boom. Clarence escapes. So the mule runs away. And Claire's like, I've got it. And then Claire just jumps on her horse like she fucking knows where the fuck she's going in the middle of the Appalachian Trail and tries to chase the mule away. And then Jamie's like, Claire. And then she's gone and bad news. Okay, now back to the Highland Fest. Whee! So the festival is the burning of the stag. And at this point, we realize that we might be saying goodbye to our old friend Nemi. The credits, dear.
Spoiler. There will be other deer.
I'm sure there will be other
same deer. This is just a tribute to this deer.
Is it wrong that I felt kind of justified watting the
It
stag
wasn't
burn
the
later?
best
Yes.
deer in the world,
Yeah.
but it was a tribute.
But it was a tribute.
It was a
I
tribute.
was
You know
with
what? You're right. It wasn't the best deer.
Fun fact, true story. One of the people that Julie and I play D&D with, we all have it's a thing. We all have theme songs. Julie's is Rage Against the Machine, Bulls on Parade.
Bulls on Parade.
Mine is a Jay-Z song. Which
I don't know what's it called. Is it the Hustler Baby?
When do these
I
songs
just want
come
you to
up?
know.
Whenever we kill something.
Got it. Okay.
It's not where I've been. Where
But
I'm
Kelly's
about to
is
go.
the best. Kelly's fucking Iggy Azalea's fancy.
Because it just...
Boom, boom, boom.
But our friend Jeremy, his is tribute.
Oh, nice.
He's a bard. So
Yeah, so I mean, it makes
we
sense.
all but men rock. Anyway,
So then Roger gives Brianna a little Scots in North Carolina lesson, and then they're walking through a tent with all the artisans, and she sees the charcoal artist, and she's like, "Let's get our sketches done." And
but it
he's all
shouldn't
like,
look like that one. That guy looks like an asshole.
And then that's when I was like, "What's up with mustache?" And we had to pause and take a photo, which you all saw if you watched the live stream. And the guy, she says, "Me and my boyfriend," and Roger has this little chest puff moment where he goes, "Boyfriend." And then they get a fucking charcoal sketch together, which we'll see again
It's
about
cute.
500 times.
It's a cute little sketch.
And
And
then
then they decide to dance.
There's some dancing. They dance. They spin. We see all sorts of people. And I wondered whether or not Highland dancing is maybe the beginnings of square dancing. I don't know, people,
have to look it
listeners. That's something to look up.
So you all have incredibly fascinating jobs. Surely one of you is a historian of dance.
Yes.
Let
You can
us
tell
know.
us where square dance came from. And then they started spinning, and I said this out loud. I said, please don't let this go to slow-mo. And it didn't for a minute. And then it did. And I went, no, slow-mo! And I was really mad
Well,
about
at first it did like the perspective shot where it was Roger was spinning and Bree was spinning and we were seeing their faces, and then it went to slow. So it already did like a way too on the nose
This
shot,
thing-
and then it went to slow.
Okay.
Time stops for love.
And then a portrait on
Sorry.
a wall started smiling.
Motherfucker.
And then we're back in the woods, and Clarence comes back, but no Claire.
But no Claire.
So Jamie just grabs his pistol, and he's like, gotta go find my fucking wife. And then
Must be Tuesday.
it must be Tuesday, gotta find my wife. And then Claire is still looking for Clarence, has no idea. He's just wandered back, and she's like, Clarence, Clarence. We hear the thunder, and then all of a sudden lightning strikes a tree directly in front of her, spooking her horse.
Really good effect.
It is a cool effect. The horse bucks Claire, runs away. Claire hits her head, passes out on the ground. Rain falls.
She ends up winded, but not gone with the winded.
Yeah.
Do you get, because the little girl dies after being thrown from a horse
Right.
and gone with the wind.
Belle, the baby.
But traumatizing.
Yeah,
Sorry.
it is very
Sorry.
sad.
My bad.
But I really feel like Gone with the Winded is an underappreciated pun. I feel
really-
like I shared something with the two of you and you just let it go right over
I
your head.
felt
I'm
like
sorry. I
it did
don't
go
think
over
I-
my head at
yeah.
It's
first,
time
but
for Pocky.
But
Sorry.
then when you
I eat my
clarified, I was there with you.
When I what?
Clarified. So then we're back at the Highlander Fest, and fucking Roger is gonna fucking do some hot licks on his guitar. At first with a band, and they're stomping through a big reel, like it's up tempo. There's a what's the name of the drum?
Bodhran.
There's a bodhran, and they're
Somebody will be able to correct me on the pronunciation of that, but Bodhran.
they're fucking Highlandering it up, and then everybody claps, and then everybody leaves the stage except for Roger, and he gets to do a solo. And let me tell you a little something. Rick Rankin, that boy can sing.
He can sing.
That guy's
Yeah.
a rock star. Makes
It
sense.
was beautiful.
Better looking in person.
I thought he was cute.
He's good looking on the show.
But I think they do dowdy him up a little bit. They're
That-
trying to make him look more
In
intellectual.
person, he doesn't like to do the bangs thing. Like,
Yeah, he doesn't have the Liverpudlian mop top.
yeah, and I think that's what
Not
like.
even the Beatles have that haircut at that point in
No.
history.
He did have a bowl cut in the show.
A bit of a bowl cut.
So then he sings this slow Gaelic love song about
Called The False Bride.
losing. There you go, title of the show. Losing a woman that a man losing a woman that he loves because he misses his chance and she marries someone else. And I think strawberries are mentioned at some point.
Cheers word to another.
Now, right here I have Harry Chapin with a star next to it because I was like, does he sound like that? But then when you did that, it sounded like Gordon Lightfoot, Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald.
Listen to the sound of Scotland.
So Bree looks
Scotland, my old friend.
Listen, I love parodies of that song. Keep going.
I sang it yesterday when I pulled my snow boots out for the first time. I do it every year when I pull my snow boots
Do you
out.
really?
Hello, darkness, my old friend. Every time I fucking look at those boots.
I was trying to convince Kevin for like 3 or 6 months to use that in our mockumerry. He didn't.
You didn't like that? I
idea.
fucking love that song. It's so funny.
There's
he
a
really hated that idea. It
there's
was
a
good
great
decision, but-
train of thought. There is a parody of a Simon and Garfunkel song in this season of Crazy Ex-Girlfriend that you could never in a million years see coming. It's really good.
God, I've got to get caught up. Okay,
really do.
hold on. We're getting close to the end here. Not really, but we got to haul ass.
We got a whole ass.
We got-
So, Bree's all starry-eyed in the audience, like, "Oh, he is a rock star. He's a musician. He's so sensitive." And
I mean, in her defense,
He is doing a really good
I
job.
would be if I was just dating a guy and I didn't know he had that in his bag of tricks, and all of a sudden he was like, "To another."
panty drops.
Yeah, I would just be like, "Oh, Jesus Christ!"
Woo, seat got boys.
Spoiler, by the way, that's what happens.
She pulls out their drawing, and I was like, "Don't do it." No, oh, she did it. And she looks at the charcoal drawing, and I was like, "Okay, fine." And then she sees him after the show, and then there's a real makeout because that's what musicians get, is all the girls. And then Bree has gifts for him. She got him a bottle of Scottish whiskey, which is cool, and a history book.
How did you get this? And she doesn't say, "No, how would you get this? This is a dry county." And she says, "Well, I'm hot."
Well, that's what Allison said, and it was true. I can't get these Pocky out.
Get that Pocky.
And then Bree gives him this whiskey and a history book that's like the history of the Scots in North Carolina. This book will be very important later. And then we're in the cabin, and hanging on the wall is our friend Credits Dear. So we've gotten to see our friend die several times. I'm about to, in a conflagration. They're like lovey-dovey, drinking the whiskey, hanging out because they decided to go into Brianna's cabin, and they're all alone.
And Credits Dear is staring at them from the wall.
And she's like, I'm going to have to cover his face. And then Roger stands up to go look at him a little bit closer and then turns around and whoo, Bree's shirt is off.
Well, she throws the shirt at Credits Dear.
Mm-hmm. And then there's real makeout. And then Roger, why?
Oh, Roger, what'd you do? Roger.
So he stops like mid makeout. He kind of like scoops her ass, like it's a real handful of ass he grabs.
It's like
and she
real
goes like,
makeout.
"Whoa, you goose me!" And they fall over, and they're like grinding all up on each other on the floor.
It's good. It's like they're about to get it on, and then he just stops.
He says, "I want this to be perfect," and she goes, "It is perfect."
Yeah, what the fuck?
Right after I said, but this is perfect.
Yeah.
So then he scampers off to get her shirt, and he sort of drapes her shirt over her. And then he reaches in his bag and he takes out this jewelry box.
What?
That has
Wait
a
a minute.
bracelet in it.
It's too big for a ring.
Okay. Okay.
And this is the bracelet is straight from the box. And it says, "Je t'aime un peu, un passionment." And I can't remember what not at all is. But it's basically in French, and it's tied to like a song that French children sing when they're pulling petals off of flowers. He gives it to her, and she's all like, "Oh, this is a very nice bracelet. Thank you." And then he fucking proposes.
Like an idiot.
What the fuck?
No.
I want to be clear. A Christmas? Well, okay, so some hanging out in Scotland.
Yeah.
And then a Christmas. And then a summer. And then a Christmas. And then this is the summer. And I get that people got married faster back then. But I also want to tell you that she doesn't actually say no. She says this is too fast.
Mm-hmm. Which is true.
Totally fair. I bet they've spent maybe 14 days together total.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
And then
this is hitting me real close to home. Holy
wait,
shit.
wait till you hear what he does, though. I bet this won't hit too close to home. So he flips the fuck out on her.
For saying it's too fast?
Yeah. And what's the best way to say it? He basically just virtue judges her.
Yeah. So he says like he wants her, but he wants it to be right. Like he wants her that it can be as long of an engagement as she wants, but he wants to know that that's what's in the future, and he wants all kinds of.
I want to be wedded to you. I want to have children with you. Like it's all this shit, and Brianna's like, whoa, whoa, whoa! I was just gonna get some.
Then she makes the very valid point that because they've never talked about marriage, where she says, "My mother married someone she thought was the love of her life, and it turns out that he wasn't." And I witnessed it my entire childhood. I was a daily witness to what it looks like when somebody gets married to somebody when they really love somebody else. And he's like, "What are you saying? You're waiting for somebody better?" And she's like, "No, I'm saying maybe I don't believe in marriage." Mm-hmm. Right? And he fucking flips his shit. And then she tries to be like, "But we could just why don't we just, fuck."
She doesn't say the word fuck, but he does as a weapon against her.
Yeah.
No.
He's like, so I'm not good enough to marry, but I'm good enough to fuck. And she goes, well, I wouldn't have used that language. And he goes, but that's what you're about to do. And she goes, you're a fucking hypocrite. And he says something about like, aren't you a virgin? And she goes, yes, I am. If it's any of your business, I know you're not. And he says no. And she goes, then you're a hypocrite.
And then he says, but I didn't love them. It's gross.
Which doesn't
What the fuck?
recommend him in mine eye.
No. Let me say this about this stuff in the books. Because first of all, this scene is much hotter in the books because it happens when they're in, I'm sorry, the books because it happens when they're in Scotland. And she's staying in the house in Inverness. It's before it goes to Fiona. And she comes out of the shower and they like cross each other in the hallway. And she sort of comes up to him and hugs him. And then while she's hugging him, like with one arm, she lets the towel drop. So basically her body is pinning the towel to him.
Oh my God.
And then he loses his goddamn mind.
Well, of
right?
course.
So then they're like tussling on the floor. And then he stops himself and leaves and like puts the towel around her and like goes off to think, right? And she's confused. Then they go to church. On Christmas Eve. And as they're leaving church, he wants to talk to her about it and he proposes. And she says the things that she says. And it's a lot less violent.
Yeah, because this seemed like
It
over
seems
the
like
top.
really toxic. And it is totally possible that that the biggest difference is that you're watching it from the outside instead of seeing it play out from inside his head. Claire is the only person who gets first-person perspective chapters in the books, but Roger is one of the characters who gets point of view chapters. So even though you're not directly in his head, you see things the way that he does. And it's just that like he didn't realize that he felt kind of old-fashioned about it until he fell in love with her. But like this is very specifically what he wants. He wants
to
like,
marry a virgin.
Well, no, he wants to make love to her for the first time, knowing that means he's never going to sleep with anybody else ever again. Like it's a very old-fashioned idea, absolutely. But it's not like he wants to fuck her, but only when she's a virgin and also only when they're getting married. It's like he wants the first time that they have sex to be the first time that then he has sex with the person he's going to have sex with for the rest of his life. Like he wants it to be, he doesn't want it to be cheap and he doesn't want it to be tawdry and he doesn't want it to be a fling. Like he wants it to be the real deal. And it's a really shitty way of going about it. And that's true in the book too. And I think some of this is like the era, but it's not like, but there's something about the way it plays, especially because it all plays out in one scene. There's something about the way it plays out that is so shitty. And in the book, it's still shitty, but it's less shitty. And they also don't break up as a result of it. It's like they don't really recover, but they're still seeing each other and talking to each other. And it's just like, he thinks that she doesn't love him enough.
Right.
And really it's that she doesn't fucking know if she wants to get married, which is totally reasonable. Anyway, I think it's gross.
So then we're back to the woods and Claire's alone in the storm. It's nighttime. She finds a little like branch or something that she can get under to get dry. She takes her shoes off to like check her wet feet. And then she puts her hands behind her and she finds a fucking skull. Man, she's skulls.
A skull magnet.
She's a fucking skull magnet. And then she's looking at it, and then she finds something else behind it, and it's this opal, like this enormous
giant opal.
And we know that to be a time traveler, you need the gemstone, so it's like a little baby head. And then she looks up, and there's this ghost, a Native American that just appears only when the lightning strikes, and he comes closer and closer and closer. And then she says, "Who are you?" And then he disappears. Turns around backwards, walks away, and he's got a scalped top of the head.
Oh shit.
Yes, interesting. Ooh. Then we cut back to the Highland Fest, and it's time to burn the stag. And Brianna comes back to try and make up with Roger, but he's still kind of obstinate about it. But he's representing Clan Mackenzie, so he gets up with his torch, and then they set that mother on fire.
And she leaves.
And
she
then
tries to give the bracelet back.
He won't
doesn't
take
want
it.
She
It was
leaves.
the gift. Oh, God, you're gross. And
he
then
also says, I want all of you. I'll have all of you or none of you, or something like that.
He said, "This is the part I was here for this," and like it's fucking gross. I want to love all of you or love none of you.
Gross.
And I was just like, "What the fuck, dude? Back the fuck off."
Yeah. So then we go
I
back.
will have you all or not at all.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Barf.
Yeah.
So Claire's in the woods. She wakes up. Somebody took her damn shoes.
God damn it.
Which, by the way, we see earlier when she takes them off, have zippers.
They do.
I'm assuming they're the shoes she brought back with her, and I just don't remember them. But that's another bad time traveling.
Yeah, don't bring zippers again.
Girl.
And then also, you know those things are gonna be valuable. If you're gonna take them off, hide that shit.
Or sleep on them.
Well, I mean, I suppose she didn't. It's not like
She thought somebody was out there.
Central
Right.
Park, right? Like
she
nobody's
wasn't-
gonna.
She wasn't using her
Right.
backpack
But there
as
was
a
a ghost.
pillow.
There was a ghost, but I mean, but
Can he pick him up? Like, how does that work?
He can.
Yeah.
Depends on the rules of the road.
So
Is this ghost?
she wakes up and she picks up the skull and just is like, doop, 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 putting this in my knapsack. And then she wanders through the woods like, oh God, what am I going to do now? And then she comes over a crest and guess what? There's Jamie.
Well, and doing that, she was following.
She was following the tracks of her shoes.
Yeah.
Right. So she looks down and sees that somebody had used her shoes to walk this way. And then there's Jamie, and the shoes are sitting right next to him. And he's like, thank God, saw your shoes. He thinks that she had come down there with her shoes. And she's like, wait, nah, man, I've never been here before. Whoa, whoa, whoa. And then it's like, oh, but I did see this ghost. And they talk about the ghost for a minute. And Jamie has heard way weirder things from her before. So he's kind of like, all right, ghost, I'm just glad you're back. And then he walks away and she pulls out the skull and she's looking at it. And then she flips it over, which I can't believe this is the first time she saw them.
Well,
but
she had to wash it.
Yeah.
She was washing it
Because
in
Jamie
the,
told her she had
that's
to
why.
wash. She should wash.
Oh, yes. And so the skull was part of that?
Yeah, I guess
Well,
so.
no,
Yes.
she was just washing all the dirt off it.
Yeah.
I
And then she
assume they
turned
were
it
gonna-
over and
Yeah.
the skull has silver fillings. What? And
I
we
wish
know
this
that
hadn't
that's
been in any of the teasers.
that's way
It's
later.
Such a good reveal when it happens. First of all of this stuff happens much later in the book.
Okay.
Like much later.
After they built their house?
Oh yeah.
Wow.
And when it happens in this book, but it's much later. And when she's coming from seeing a patient and very stubbornly, as Claire does, and gets stuck in the storm and the horse runs away and she ends up hiding in a cave from the storm and that's where she finds the thing and she hears these terrifying noises, whatever. And then the next morning she wakes up and is like starving and I think she's injured, like she injures her ankle or something and can't leave. And all of a sudden she hears Jamie calling her name. Out of the blue. He wasn't with her. And she comes out and she finds them and she and Jamie and Ian both look freaked. And she asks them what's wrong. And this is so much creepier in the book. They woke up in the morning concerned because she hadn't made it back and hear Rollo barking at the door. And they open the door and her shoes are sitting outside the door.
That is way scarier.
Isn't that way
way
scarier?
scarier.
Yes.
So then they let Rollo go. Like he is sniffing and they let Rollo go and Rollo leads
Tracks
them,
it.
Yeah, to this cave so that they can get her back because she can't walk. And she still sees the ghost. So it's like he walked there in her shoes.
Wow.
Yeah. And then afterwards she discovers that it had silver fillings and still finds the opal and everything.
She turns it over and shows Jamie and she's like, these haven't been invented for another 100 years. This person was like me. And then something happens, whatever, and then she sees a strawberry. And I asked Allison whether or not this might be a little bit pokey at the fans.
I think it is.
Because they don't bone in the strawberry field here.
Like it's supposed to be like some Adam and Eve level fucking.
Oh.
Yeah, like first time. Feels like the first time.
Feels like
Well,
the first time.
Feels
in
like the only
America.
creatures on Earth anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, what they do find by the strawberries, though, is Fraser's Ridge. Like, Jamie looks out over the valley, and he's like, this is where I want to build my home. And so he's like, all right, I'm going to take the deal with Tryon. And he's going to take Tryon's offer, and then he says, we shall call it Fraser's Ridge. And then the camera backs out on Jamie and Claire from the back looking out over the vista. And Allison was like, we're going to see this shot about 25 more times.
Well, including every week in the credits because
Right.
it's in the credits.
It's a beautiful shot.
It's beautiful, but
Yeah.
good God.
It's used a lot. All right, so that's kind of the end of the episode. Do we want to do scales?
Yeah, and then I want to do like a brief spoilery section, but brief.
Okay.
Scales. All right. Costumes. So it's frontiersy. We've got some shit, let's say, on a scale of a Renaissance fair. 'Cause you've got Renaissance fairs in my head,
Huzzah.
to a movie about people who do Renaissance fairs. No, that doesn't make any sense.
Also,
It's
why
fine, just
doesn't
go
that
with
movie
it.
exist? Why
Let's
doesn't
go
that
with
movie
A
exist?
Knight's Tale.
Okay.
Oh.
Okay.
Starring
Heath
the late
Ledger.
Heath Ledger. Yeah.
What's the low end and the high end here?
The low end is
Renaissance
fairs,
fair.
which those are good costumes.
Sometimes they're
they
good,
all-
but
they all
sometimes
have
they're not.
fucking zippers and shit.
They do.
Yeah.
And Velcro. Some of the Velcro. Mm-hmm. That's fucking weird.
All right. Well, between a Renaissance fair and A Knight's Tale, that's pretty vast. I'm going to go with, What We Do in the Shadows.
That's a really good choice.
Because it's kind of got both.
It does have a little of both.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with... Oh, I got fucking nothing. Any Branagh Shakespeare film. Where
Okay.
it's all like a little much.
A little too
But
perfect.
it's good much, right? Like lots of textures, lots of layers, especially the stuff in the 60s. Some like very bright kilts with matching stockings.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
All that shit. We see some Roger Nee.
Oh, yeah.
But it's like colorful and a lot, which is very Branagh, I think. All right.
Okay.
Coitus. From, let's see, 10 Things I Hate About You.
Continuing in the Heath Ledger thing.
Yeah. To, what's another fucking toxic movie, but one with more boning in it? Fear. Because really, that's the only sex we're seeing in this.
Yeah, it's kind of
Is
slut
sex
shamey.
that doesn't happen, but is real fucked up.
Oh man.
It's a weird episode to try to get a shipping hashtag going for, because I guarantee you there are a lot of people who haven't read the books who are like, dump
Fuck
his ass.
that guy.
Fuck that guy.
Fuck that guy. Man. I don't know if I have something for this one, because the doing it was not real doing it. It was kind of like play doing it. What is play doing it? Where is play doing it? What is something in my mind, a movie with play doing it?
It's like the thought of doing it happens, but it's not going to.
It's like
Big.
There you go. But that's a beautiful
That is a
scene.
Yeah, that
beautiful
is a
scene.
beautiful scene.
It's not toxic in any way.
Oh no! Oh god!
It's actually quite innocent.
You know what? I'm gonna let that stand, because
Yeah.
I would just like to think about that scene forever. Okay,
Yeah.
that's it.
All right, and then I'm gonna say any Kenneth Branagh Shakespeare
To get up to drink a beer.
Toxic.
Oh yeah. Oh no, that's
okay.
yours.
And then getting up to drink a beer. Let's go on a scale. We're gonna use Outlander episodes for this one. Let's go on a scale of Adventure Barbie to Versailles.
Which Versailles? The party or when they're in the star room?
Oh, well, that's Faith. That's
Right.
a different kettle
That's
of fish.
completely different.
Party.
Party.
Which still,
I mean, I would say that this is a solid The Watch. I think that there are times where you could probably get up to go get a beer and not miss too much. Like a lot of the Jamie and Claire kind of in the woods talking.
you could get up and pause without disrupting the
but
momentum.
it's not gonna ruin your viewing of the entire episode.
It's not like last week where we just couldn't fucking move.
right. Mm-hmm. All right.
That episode had its issues, but was very gripping. Mm-hmm. All right. That's it.
I think it is.
We'll save the spoiler stuff for next week.
Okay.
I have 2 words that I want to throw out.
Yeah.
No, it's not even worth it. I'll
All
save
right.
it for next week.
Well, this has been a really great episode, and if you want to listen to us some more or follow us on social media, you can follow us on Facebook at
Facebook.com/PodlanderCast.
someday I'll memorize this, or at Twitter at
PodlanderCast.
or on Patreon, or no, wait, what am I? Or find us on Patreon at
Patreon.com/PodlanderDrunkcast.
Cool. And we really appreciate that everyone who listens to us, we really appreciate you guys, but especially our Patreon members.
All of them, but
all
these
of them.
categories in particular.
All of them, but these categories in particular, well, we can all tell I'm still learning. And here I go with names. Trish McCrary, Jen Lander Drunklin, Jenna Polkowski, Dr. J, Lori McGuire, Ann Gavin, Katie Kirshner, Amanda Newton, Beth Locke, Mary Lumpkin, Tanner Cole, Kiki,
The Wise.
Tara Lucchino.
Lucchino.
Dang it, I almost did it. I'm sorry
close.
about that. We got your message, and I fucked up. Lucchino.
Thank you for giving us the heads up, Tara.
Yeah. Tara Lucchino. Crystal Nanavati.
Nanavati.
My bad. I'm going to screw all
You're
of
gonna
you
get
up.
it good
Give me
though.
that punky.
Ann Gibson, Ida with an I, Erin Yitzi, Molly Layton, Heather Moore, Ruth McCormick, Kara Marlowe, Flourish Root, Friday Payton, and Kathleen Moniz.
Hi,
Mom.
Oh, man, that went really well.
That was a good one.
Yeah,
Good job.
thanks.
All right. We're going to open more beers, travel a week into the future, and have a conversation that you'll hear a week in the past.
God, it's already fucking with
Man,
me.
time's hard.
Yesterday is today. Tomorrow is Thursday. Thursday is every day. Every day I'm hustling.
Bye.
Bye.